everyone, it's Miss Sophia again, back from Miss Wa's English Communication Centre. We're back for our second video of 100 common English adjectives. In today's video, we'll be learning 20 new adjectives about taste. You ready to get going? Let's go! How does your favourite snack taste? Is it sweet? Is it salty? Is it sour? Or is it bitter? My favourite snacks are sweets and candies. So I would say my favourite snack tastes sweet. Now let's learn some vocabulary about taste. Bitter, sweet, dry, moist, bland, spicy, savoury. Do you know what any of these words mean? Let's take a look. Now, let's match the word with their correct definition. So I'll run through the words again and the definitions and then we'll match them up. Bitter, sweet, dry, moist, bland, spicy, savoury. Now let's run through the definitions quickly. Usually an enjoyable taste of sugar. Boring, not interesting, with no flavour. Not sweet, for example, bread. Not wet, no moisture. A little wet, often used to describe cakes. Having strong flavours and spices, or heat from chilies. Having a strong or unpleasant taste. This word is often used to describe coffee or dark chocolate. So, let's take a look at definition 1. Usually an enjoyable taste of sugar. This, of course, is sweet. Boring, not interesting and lacking flavour. We would use the word bland. Not sweet. So, for example, bread or potato chips. This is savoury. So, some people will ask you, are you a sweet or savoury person? And that means when picking a snack, what's your preference? Do you like something sweet, like candies and cakes? Or do you like something savoury, like potato chips or bread? Our fourth definition is not wet and has no moisture. This, of course, is dry. The next definition is a little wet and is often used to describe well-made cakes. This word is moist. Having strong flavours and heat from chilies or spices. This word, of course, is spicy. And our last definition is having a strong, often unpleasant taste and is often used to describe things like dark chocolate or coffee. And this word is bitter. Fantastic! Did you get them all right? I hope so. Now let's run through those adjectives and their definitions again. Make sure you say the words along with me. Bitter. Bitter. This is a strong, often unpleasant taste, used to describe things like coffee or dark chocolate. Sweet. Sweet. Usually an enjoyable, sugary taste. Dry. Dry. The food is not wet and has no moisture. Moist. Moist. A little wet. This is often used to describe well-made cakes. Bland. Bland. This means the food is boring, not interesting, and is lacking in flavour. Spicy. Spicy. This means the food has lots of flavour, influenced by chilies and different spices. And the last word is savoury. Savoury. This is used to describe things that are not sweet, so things like potato chips or bread. So, when using this list, I'll choose 3 words and use them in some sentences for you. I went to my friend's house for dinner the other night. To be honest, the food was mostly bland. The soup had no flavour at all. But then she brought out this beautiful curry that was both sweet and spicy at the same time. It was delicious. Now, let's listen carefully to the clip and answer the following question. For my dessert, I ordered a chocolate fudge cake. It was very sweet, but a little dry. How does the girl describe her dessert? Does she say it's dry, it's bitter, or it's sweet? She actually used 2 of the adjectives to describe her dessert. She said she ordered a chocolate fudge cake that was very sweet and a little dry. Let's move on to our next adjectives. So, before we can read our next list of adjectives, we need to unscramble the words. The first and last letter are still in the right place, but the words in between have been moved around. Take a few minutes to see if you can unscramble the words and guess what adjectives they are. Okay, the first one is rich. We'll come along to the definitions in a moment. Let's just work out the words for now. The second word is salty. The third word is tasty. Our fourth adjective is sugary. Our next adjective is greasy. The next one is scrumptious. And the final adjective is sour. Did you get them all right? Okay, let's run through that vocabulary. Rich, salty, tasty, sugary, greasy, scrumptious, sour. Now let's take a look at those words and see what they mean. Don't forget to say it along with me. Rich. Rich. This means food that has a lot of butter, cream or eggs in it. Maybe you would eat a huge cake and say, that chocolate cake was so delicious, but it was very rich. Salty. Salty. This simply means it tastes of salt. but can also be used when something has too much salt in it. Tasty. Tasty. You would use this adjective to describe something that has a good flavour and is nice to eat. Sugary. Sugary. This also means sweet, but also tastes a lot of sugar. So if something was coated in sugar, you may say it was very sweet and sugary. Greasy. Greasy. This is food that is containing or covered in fat or oil. Scrumptious. Scrumptious. This is another word for tasty or delicious, and it means that it is very, very nice to eat. Sour. Sour. This adjective is used to describe a sharp taste. So something like lemon would be described as sour. Now let's listen to the following statements and decide if they are true or false.
At the weekend, my husband and I went to London for our 5-year anniversary. We stayed in a lovely hotel and had a lovely meal there, especially the dessert. It was sugary and scrumptious. The wine was tasty too. The breakfast was very greasy though, and the orange juice was bitter.
The breakfast was greasy. The dessert was sugary and scrumptious. The wine was sour. The orange juice was tasty. Statement number 1 is true. She said the breakfast was greasy. Statement number 2. The dessert was sugary and scrumptious. That's right too. She really enjoyed her dessert. Number 3. The wine was sour. This is false. She said the wine was tasty. And number 4. The orange juice was tasty. This is false too. She said the orange juice was bitter. Did you manage to get them all correct? I hope so. Now we have a different kind of matching game today. Here are the phonetics of the word. And here are the adjectives. Do you think we can match the phonetics with their adjective? Let's give it a go. This is piping hot. Which one of these do you think is piping hot? Excellent. Here is piping hot. Our second phonetic is crunchy. Where is crunchy? Our third phonetic is bite-sized. Where is bite-sized? Here it is. Our next phonetic is chewy. Can you see chewy? Great. Here is chewy. Our next phonetic is tasteless. This, of course, is tasteless. And our last phonetic is juicy. And here is juicy. I hope you got them all right. Okay, let's run through those words we just learned. Piping hot, bite-size, crunchy, chewy, tasteless, juicy. How do you think we could describe this peach? We might say that it's very juicy. And what about this cereal? Is it piping hot? No, it's crunchy. Now let's take a look and see what these adjectives mean. Piping hot. Piping hot. This simply means something is very hot. Crunchy. Crunchy. This means something that is firm and making a loud noise when you eat it. Bite size. Bite size. These are small portions of food that can be eaten in one mouthful. Chewy. Chewy. This is used to describe food that is needing to be chewed hard or for a long time until it can be swallowed. Tasteless. Tasteless. This means food that is lacking any flavour at all. And the last adjective is juicy. Juicy. This means something that is full of juice and is very succulent. Okay, time to listen and determine if the following statements are true or false.
I took my mother for a birthday meal last week, but it was an absolute disaster. Her soup was freezing cold, the appetizer was chewy, and the whole meal was tasteless. She was very disappointed, and so was I.
The appetizer was chewy. The whole meal was tasteless. The soup was piping hot. So, statement number 1, the appetizer was chewy. That is correct. The appetizer was chewy. Number 2, the whole meal was tasteless. That is also true. And number 3, the soup was piping hot. That is not true. It's false. She said the soup was freezing cold. It sounded like a terrible meal. Let's practice what we've learned today. Can you describe your dream 3-course meal? What would you have for appetizer, main course or dessert? Describe the way each dish tastes. Which is your favourite dish and why? So for example, if I was going to describe my ideal 3-course meal, I might say, for my appetizer, I had a tomato soup. It was piping hot. And very tasty. For my main course, I had a pasta. It was a little bit spicy and it was so scrumptious. They even put some crispy onions on top to make it really crunchy. Scrumptious. Crunchy. For dessert, I ordered the sticky chocolate fudge cake. It was sugary and sweet and really, really rich. All of the dishes were tasty and full of flavour, but my favourite was the dessert because I love eating sweet foods. Give it a go and try to describe what you'd like to eat and how it tastes. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty hungry after that video. I'd really like to go and get some tasty food right now. What about you? I hope the adjectives you've learnt today will come in handy when you are next talking about food with your friends and family. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. In the next one, we'll be talking about sound. So see you there. Bye!
Miss Hoa Giao Tiếp, độc quyền phương pháp phản xạ truyền cảm hứng.